it'll be hard to say no if Washington does request support for its strikes in Syria.
And as I said, we were not asked for specific support, but it is my belief, though I stress no such decision has yet been taken, it is my belief that were such a request to be made in future, were it to be a reasonable request in pursuit of similar objectives, then I think it would be very difficult for the United Kingdom to say no.
The Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson, stating that should the US ask for the UK's assistance in bombing Syrian government forces in the future, that it would be difficult to say no. Mr. Johnson also expressed his full support for those US airstrikes, saying that they sent an emphatic message to the Syrian government and to President Assad, what he described as President Assad's so-called barbarism. And he also went on to say that those strikes could possibly lead to a political solution, a very mafia-esque way perhaps of trying to seek a political solution. We'll bomb you and then we'll bring you to the negotiating table. Mr. Johnson also called for Russia to end what he called its blind support for the Syrian government. But it's interesting that over the weekend there was that devastating attack on civilians which saw dozens of children brutally killed. We saw those images, very shocking scenes over the weekend, and yet no condemnation from the British government or the American government of the perpetrators of that attack, thought to be those extremist rebel groups. So leading many to ask why the double standard by the British government. This isn't the first time that the UK have supported US military action. We saw that in Libya and more notoriously in Iraq. But with regards to Syria, just a few years ago, the Conservative coalition government tried to pass that vote to bomb Syrian government forces, and that was rejected by Parliament. And yet, Mr. Johnson suggesting that he may approve such airstrikes without the approval of Parliament. And of course, we have elections coming up in the UK, and the Houses of Lords and Commons are due to be dissolved, so there may be no one for the government to ask approval from anyway.
Yeah, Sally there. Well, Boris Johnson's comments come as the US faces growing criticism over its campaign in Syria. Human Rights Watch now has issued a damning report accusing the US of failing to take adequate precautions to spare civilian lives in its operations in Syria. The organisation says innocent people have paid the price for Washington's mistakes, referring to a strike that took place on the 16th of March. According to data obtained by Human Rights Watch, 38 people were killed in that US air raid, which hit a mosque at the time. The strike took place as worshippers were gathered inside for evening prayers. A deputy director for Human Rights Watch told me that US officials overlooked key information on the ground, she said.
The US government appears to have failed to understand some very key aspects of the target that they hit. Our investigation, through speaking with witnesses on the ground, through looking at video and photographic evidence, we were able to confirm, in fact, that the building that was struck was a mosque. The airstrike took place in between the sunset and the evening prayer, at a time when U.S. officials should have known that there would be people.
By American police of themselves, of the government of itself, they'll say, well, we investigated ourselves and it turns out we're not guilty. Oh, okay. Thanks very much for letting us know. The unstated principle of the American media and of the American government is anybody killed by the U.S. deserved it. Either they were, the best thing you could say, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. How dare they have been in that wedding party that could so be easily mistaken by a drone for a group of Al-Qaeda soldiers of plotting. So it's, they don't think there's anything where anybody who was killed. Don't worry about it. If it may be a PR problem for them, then they worry. If it's not a PR problem, and the U.S. media always make sure, to the extent they can, it is never a PR problem for the U.S. government to kill civilians.
Controversy around the French presidential candidate Marie